everybody, welcome to the Drunk Tank Podcast, episode 4.5, the Lost Retake episode. Oh my god. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a trial and tribulation the last week and a half. Oh, okay. Brief recap of how miserable this has been. My computer is dying that we do the live stream on, and we do all like the recording and editing on my end, and then Chris has his computer where he edits his side. But the problem is I gotta rip the video and the audio from my computer side and send it to him so he can do his side of the stuff. Well, my computer broke and it's dying. It's on its last legs. He's 6 years old. So we had to take last week off because we had no way to record the podcast, audio, visual, none of it.
Yeah.
I have spent the last week Frankensteining some way to make this happen. I have sacrificed a chicken, and I ate a whole bag of shrimp. So hopefully it works. So, as we start the show, as always, welcome to the show. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Sweating bullets right now. Sweating bullets. I'll tell you after the podcast. I'll do it.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
But man, how's work? How you been? What's been things for you?
To be honest, this week is actually, for work-wise, it's not been that great. It's been really, really quiet over the last couple of days. But there was a really, really good story that came out of Glasgow, especially over the weekend, that we'll get into later on in the show. But it gave me a good 24-hour drinking session.
Ooh,
I'm not going to lie. We're lucky that we didn't record this last night because I was in no fit state.
We couldn't record it last night because I had no way to record it, so you're safe. So, hey, buddy, well, what you drinking? What's your opening round tonight? What do you got?
Well, I am drinking. Well, last week I was enjoying the Eagle Brewery. I got a banana bread beer, which none of you will ever know that happened, but it happened. So this week I've got another one from Eagle Brewery, and it is a sticky toffee pudding.
Ooh, nice.
It's not as the banana bread one. There was a lot of flavour, like you could taste the banana. This one, it's more of a subtle hint and smell that you get.
Right.
But other than that, it tastes like an enjoyable craft beer.
Nice.
Nothing to shout home about, in my personal opinion. But nothing that, like, I wouldn't not drink it again.
Okay.
If my taste fancied it.
So nice. What are you looking at price wise? Because we like to let everybody know what we're thinking on price.
Well, I picked this up in a store actually down in England when I was there last week, for just under £2.
Okay.
But it was on sale. I'm not sure how much it kind of goes on their websites and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we will link the kind of links in the kind of descriptions of the podcast and YouTube video and stuff like that for you to look up.
I gotta remember to do that when I upload the video. I keep forgetting to do that. Like, I put in all the socials and shit, but I forget to put in the drink links.
Yeah, well, they could get it in mine, so...
Right.
I usually forget to do the socials. So between us, we're fucking winning.
We're getting it. Nice. So, you said like £2, right? But it was on sale?
Yeah, I think it was on sale, but to be honest, here, if you're buying, like, I bought like 6 different bottles, and it was all like £2 each.
Right.
Like, if you buy like a case, obviously, but a lot of our craft beers and stuff like that, you don't buy cases in like our local supermarkets. It's all just individuals.
Right.
So they tend to be round about. It kind of ranges from like £1.50 to about £3, depending on alcohol content, brand, and stuff. So that was in the kind of middle of the pack.
Nice.
The price.
Yeah. Me tonight, I'm drinking. It's a local brewery. It's Sprecher. They make really good like craft sodas, and I noticed that they did like a hard version of root beer, and I was like, oh, we'll give that a shot. Because I've never had it. I've had the root beer. The root beer is really good. Their ginger ale is really good. Their cherry coke is really good. So I got this as part of that that pick 6 when we started the podcast. Remember?
Yeah.
So my goal is every 6 weeks just go get another like mix and match and try and kind of see what's what.
But, the best that you do.
Yeah, that runs about $8 for a 6-pack for those. It's not bad. I mean, it tastes like root beer, but there's a little bit of like a spiciness on the back end. Like you really can't taste the alcohol, but you can tell it's there.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like there's a lot of drinks over here that you get like that where it's like we call it the danger drink.
Yes,
because you can drink it like water, and then after 4 and 20 minutes you go, this was a bad idea, and I'm fucked.
Yeah, we call those candy over here. Because you get a couple in you, you're like, oh, fine, and then as soon as the air hits you, you get smacked in the mouth with a shovel and you're on your ass. You're like, oh god.
See, that was what when I went to Dublin quite a few years ago. Funny enough, to go and see a Bruce Springsteen concert. And it was the first time I was in Dublin, and it was the Guinness there. Now, I like Guinness here, but over there, like you walk into a bar, any bar in Dublin, and they'll have 7 or 8 pints of Guinness on the go because it takes so long to actually settle to time it. Yeah. So they just have them ready to go. So when somebody comes in and orders it, they'll be like, oh, the next one's 2 minutes away, or the next one's 5 minutes away, and stuff like that. And then they just keep on adding as you'd get taken away. And we were in a bar for maybe an hour and a half, and I had 6. Whoa. And I thought, we're fine. This was before the gig. I was like, yeah, you're fine, we're fine. We're a 10-minute walk, let's go. As soon as I walked out, I do not remember most of that evening.
You were stealing.
Because it's just like the Guinness just sort of like over the eyes. That was it. I mean, I can remember a lot of the gig, but it was moments in the gig like that were just parts of gigs that will just always stay with you.
Right.
But it was definitely a special drink there that I do not recommend having that much, but I definitely recommend going to Dublin and trying the Guinness.
Yeah, it's on Bernadette and I's list. Like I said when I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago, once the kids are old enough, because we can't, it's expensive to bring everybody with you. When the kids are out doing their thing, Bernadette and I want to hit the Ireland, Scotland, London, because we got a lot of friends over there. So we want to go and then hit back home. So that's definitely one of the things is I definitely want to make it to Dublin. I definitely got to make it up by you. And there's a bunch of dudes like in England, and I got a buddy in Kent and a guy in buddy in Manchester that I got to go visit. So
yeah,
we're hoping in the next 5 years, as long as we're all friends and we're all rich and being like, haha, we're famous.
Well, it's hard to get rid of me. Once I'm here, that's it.
I know. It's hard to get rid of me too. I'm like one of those types that's like, I'll stick around. But yeah, speaking of gigs and getting knocked out of your skull, back in 2000, I was at a convention called Gen Con. It was a big like gamer role-playing card game convention that they have over here. We were there for 4 days, bro. We rolled in day 1, dropped off our shit, found a bar, right? Me and my boy found a bar, we were talking, and back then I grew up in bars as a bartender, so I got to know the bartenders. So we went back day 2, got to know them better, started drinking more, started hanging out with the bartenders, knew who the fuck they were, getting ripped out of our mind. Night 3, I had a moment, right? Night 3, we roll in, full crew, line out the door, right? And my friend is like, oh, we're never going to get in, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, bitch, sit down. You're with me. I was decked out, line out the door. I kind of walk past the line. I'm like, hey, everybody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it. Walk up to the bar, go to the bartender. Hey, boss, what's going on? He literally turns around when he hears my voice. He goes, hey, what's up? I was like, we gonna be able to get in tonight or what? He goes, yeah, what do you need? And the dude standing next to me is like, hey, I was here first. The bartender literally goes, shush. That crew has paid my rent in the last 3 days. So we skipped the line, and we had just racks of shots. Back in that day, I wasn't drinking beer. It made my stomach turn. But I was doing shots. So every time I did a round of shots with my crew, I had to do a round of shots with the bartenders. And we were doing this stuff called Surfers on Acid. It's Chambord, Malibu, Jägermeister, and pineapple juice in equal parts. Oh,
interesting.
Oh, God.
Very interesting.
Oh, God, dude. I literally did. It had to have been close to a dozen or more shots. It literally, because we just kept getting them, right? Because when we walked in and we were getting everybody in the crew, I noticed that the pool tables were covered up. So I told the bartender, John, I said, hey, John, what's with the pool table? He goes, we were waiting for you. We covered them up because you guys would play pool every night. So we're holding them for you. I was like, oh, okay. So it was like me and 6 people, right? In this corner of this bar, in the middle of like Milwaukee, just took over this spot. Everybody's like, who the fuck are those guys? So I'm going between the bar and the pool area, doing shots with my crew. We leave to go back to the convention because it was 24 hours. Bro, I walked out and that hot August air hit me, and I was like, I gotta piss. So I literally went down an alleyway and pissed on a building, right? Turns out it was the fucking federal building, and the security guard was coming around the corner right when I was pissing. So my friends were like, hurry up, shove in your pants, it's the security guard. So I literally like wobbled down the alleyway pissing. We end up making it to the convention and a hijinks ensue. So yeah, I can definitely understand the Springsteen gig. 100%. 100%. Drunkest I've ever been in my life. Drunkest I've ever been in my life.
I would love to say that was the drunkest I'd ever been at that concert, but like we could easily just have a special podcast episode where we share just mad drunk stories. Yeah. It would easily take up an entire hour. So I've drank in many a places in many a countries and got myself into many a shitstorms.
Dude, I got in a bar fight in Texas. That's the story for another.
I've never been in a bar fight. I've never been in a fight due to alcohol.
Don't worry. I'll start one in Scotland. They can't throw me in jail. I'm a foreigner. They'll be like, he didn't know.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend them starting a fight in Scotland.
What? Like, I think you killed wearing fairies. It's fine.
The Romans couldn't. Neither can you.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's move on to our main topic here. Let me adjust the screen. Let's talk about too much. All right, what are we discussing? Or I can't. How do you spell? I gotta look at my spelling. How do I spell courtesy? Because I failed public school. There it is.
I mean, if it's any bonus, you spelled it right in the document.
I'm cheating. I'm using the document now. That's because that motherfucker's got spell check.
That's a fail.
Right? Where would we be without spell check? Where would we be without spell check? Courtesy, respect, and common sense.
Make a claim that you would be in America without spell check, taking into account use or miss out random letters of words.
You're not wrong.
Like, if you had spell check in America, you'd spell words right.
I do have spell check, just because we have American English and you have the Queen's English.
Yeah, we have English.
Yeah, shut up. You're feeling feisty today. I like it. So let's talk. We're talking about courtesy, respect, and common sense, because the last 2 weeks, I'm kind of salty. I'm gonna try and keep it professional. But I got some grievances to air, okay? And I don't want to be that old graybeard who's like, these kids today. But let me tell you, these kids today are fuck, man. Oh, okay. I work in a professional security setting for my day job when I'm not podcasting or streaming, right? So it's a customer service position. Here's the problem I have, is when I do my job and I give you directions or whatever. Why the fuck is it that people think they can just disregard what I say or sneer at me because I'm wearing a uniform? Like, common courtesy is when I walk out and say, hey, welcome to X, Y, and Z, how may I help you? The least you could do, if you had any sense growing up, is be like, okay, this gentleman is going to tell me what I need to know because clearly I don't know what the hell I need to know, right?
Yeah.
It's not the case. I've been doing this job 14 years, and it's like, I've never felt so lost as I do this week, because it seems like every time I politely engage somebody in a professional setting, it's, oh, well, he's just a rent-a-cop, fuck him, right? But if I go out to the store and I, help people out or whatever, because I tend to, like, if I see someone's lost, I'll be like, ma'am, do you need help? Can I, I'll grab something off a top shelf for, whoever, if they're short or in a wheelchair or whatever. And the juxtaposition that I do to what I see kind of really unnerves me lately. And I was out with my middle daughter, or my oldest daughter. I have a middle son, oldest daughter. I was out with my oldest daughter, and I had helped this woman in the store. And then we were walking out, and there was this young lady. She had a bunch of kids with her, and she was packing groceries in her car. Well, I walked over and said, ma'am, I have kids. Would you like me to help you get it done? Well, you put the kids in the car seat. And she said, yeah, sure, whatever. And I loaded them up. And I get back in my car, and my daughter was like, you're too nice. And I was like, no, I'm just being courteous. She goes, Dad, I get you're being nice, and I'm nice to everybody, and I do things too, but you seem to, like, be extra nice. And I'm like, I didn't see it as too nice, or I just saw it as courtesy and respect. But then when I'm wearing my uniform trying to do my job, everybody's like, fuck you. And it's like, am I the only one that, like, I don't know. I don't know how to frame this argument right, because the juxtaposition of being at work and getting treated a certain way to the way I am and have my kids treat people disturbs me. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Here there is a kind of similar, like, I think on the kind of work basis, I think that's more down to stereotypes than anything, because, like, whenever we hear like the whole rent-a-cop thing is such an American term. Like, at no point if we are, like, it's security.
Right.
Here it's always been security. So when you've got a security at the front of a store, you've got security at a warehouse. It's always just been security until it's a bar and it's a bouncer.
Right, it's a bar back here, yeah.
Yeah, but it's security. We've never uttered the phrase rent-a-cop, but whenever you hear about the American kind of stuff and, like, the movies and stuff like that, the rent-a-cop thing always seems to come from this disrespect, like, it's not a real job, you think you're a cop and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's because in the movies you can always say that they seem to proclaim them as, like, they think they're a police officer. It's just they try to go for, whereas as a security here, it's not a kind of, like, you don't go from a security guard to a police officer. It's two completely different training techniques.
Yeah, it is here too.
So it's like you're not even considered as a kind of backup police officer if you're in security. It's your own thing. And let's be honest, to be a security officer in any setting is a badass position, and congratulations and full respect to anybody that does it, because it is an unsung, like, the amount of, like, you walk up the city centre in Glasgow, and the amount of drunks and just arseholes that cut about, it's the bouncers and security guards that keep everybody safe, not just the pub goers. So, and I've had a couple of friends that have worked there, and they've even said that there's been times where they'd be working a door and something would kick off and it would go through the radio, and there would be bouncers and security from 4 different bars would come across to help, because it was a family. Like, all security guards helped each other. and that was the kind of way it was. So here especially, I don't think I've ever had that. I mean, there is a lot of other jobs and other situations where like the whole not just lack of respect or common courtesy or just common decency. But funny enough, when you'd said that the kids these days, most of the times that I've felt disrespected or anything like that has been from the older generation.
Yeah,
See the
really.
ones that claim that you have to respect your elders. They're the ones that tend to have the most disrespectful term for everybody else. Like they're the ones that have this entitlement that because I'm old, I should be respected. And it's like, well, if you're an arsehole, I'll treat you like an arsehole. It doesn't matter if you're 5 or 85. If you're an arsehole, I will treat you like one. Like, like that's how it works. Respect is earned, not given. So
Yeah,
that's how I would see it. And with your whole thing with the store, I would never think that that is you being too nice because in this world these days, we need more of that. Like, like
yeah,
considering the fuck's going on, I would love to see more people going out their way to go and help, not just a woman with children, but just help anyone that, like, there's always, every time somebody says that, oh, you're being too nice, have you noticed how it only applies when you do something that you gain nothing from?
yeah.
Like, see if you do something for somebody that you get something in return. It's just you're helping out a buddy, you're things like that. But if you go out your way to help somebody that you get no recognition, no prize, no nothing, it's considered as being too nice. And it's like, what happened to that? Like, what's wrong with just going out your way to help somebody just for the sake of it? Like,
Yeah, I think it's interesting because being a professional security officer in the corporate setting that I am now, um I I've been a barback, I've been a bartender, so I've worked that avenue of security too. And in the aspect of being a barback and a bouncer, I actually have had more respect
mm,
given to me than what I've done now as like a professional security officer, like a uniformed security officer, because it seems like to me, and this goes for like a lot of customer service people I've seen, like over here in America, shitting on customer service seems to be like an okay thing. And it's like that dude's making your sandwich or that woman's bagging your groceries. Like, why are you
yeah.
gonna like fucking talk shit to them or give them attitude when they're just trying to do a job? And then why are you gonna listen to everything I explained to you on how to get to where you're going in my facility? And then 2 seconds later go, well, I don't know where I'm going. Like, are you like not raised to listen? Like, are you not taught that when somebody in a position to help you is giving you directions or something that you just are like, fuck off? Like, it just boggles my mind because, yes, the older generation I do get a lot of disrespect from because they do have that sense of entitlement. But it seems like to me the younger people that I deal with have more of an absence of social like decorum or social morals, where the older generation carries that chip on their shoulder of entitlement. This younger generation's like they were never taught it or they didn't get it.
Yeah.
And like I go out of my girlfriend and I go out of our way to make sure our kids, like when we're out, is like, please, thank you, yes ma'am, no ma'am, hold the door for people going out, you know. And I know a lot of parents do that, but I don't see a lot of it anymore. Or maybe I just see the instances of lack thereof, and I just I don't know what it was, but this last 2 weeks I've noticed a lot of I've noticed all those things lately, and it caused me to wonder, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Is it we don't see the ones that are doing what they should, or is it we're so used to looking for the ones that don't do it that we see them more, or is it times have just changed in that social cues or social morals have sort of fallen to the wayside?
I definitely think it's the second one, if I'm being honest. Um, I do always think like you just have to look at media these days, and it's the good never get publicity.
Right.
It's always the bad. You look at like straight off the bat, feminism. Everybody always goes about feminism.
Right.
What you see about these angry women yelling is not feminism.
No, it's not.
That is not feminism. Feminism isn't about getting women more things. It's about the equality between women and men. It's they look at the likes of like male suicide rates. What can be done to stymie that? Because like all that kind of stuff. The other one is like vegans. There's such a big hatred towards vegans because the only times you hear about vegans are ones that yell and shout and all that kind of stuff. But what's funny is, see, there's a lot of people that you hear and you think, like, here's bombshell to you. See, for the last 7 months, I've been vegan.
Nice.
So it's like, I've at no point now, how long have we been talking to each other? About 6, 7 months?
Yeah, 6, 7 months, yeah.
When did you learn that I'd went vegan?
Just now.
Exactly. Like, for me, it was nothing that I should have to bring up. Like, it's nothing to justify.
Right.
And all that. Mine's wasn't for any reason of not wanting to, like, harm animals or anything like that. Mine's was purely just for a health benefit. I just wanted to try it out, see if I could get benefits and stuff like that. In the last few weeks, I have kind of strayed from it with starting up work and that kind of stuff. I've kind of like just been but that was because that was just my choice. It wasn't that I didn't want to stay vegan. It was just what I eat does not affect everybody else. But in those two instances, you're like, all you hear is the bad things.
Right.
But there's a lot of good people that are actually fighting for the right things. And I think in the last 2 weeks, considering what you've been going through with, like, say, working your computer, I think your mentality would also be looking for the worst in things, just on a kind of subconscious level. So I think that's why you've noticed a lot more. You'll probably find that if you had been recording every instance for the last year, you'd probably find that it's not been any more or less than what it's normally been. It's just been your subconscious has kind of brought out more because you've been stressing about everything that's going at work, your move, your computer, streaming. Like, you've got a lot of plates spinning.
Yeah.
And when that's gone, when you think the only plate that you'll ever actually see is the one that's fallen.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
So I think it's definitely the second one, in that it's not that the good things don't happen. It's just that in your head, it's the good things are what you'd want to see, and it's normal to you.
Oh,
like, it's something you would normally do.
Right,
so
right.
Why would it pop out to you?
Okay.
Like, it's like you eat your breakfast. You don't notice really every morning that you've eaten your breakfast. It's just, it's normal, you eat it. But on the morning that you don't eat your breakfast, when you get to lunchtime, you'll notice that you've not eaten your breakfast because it's no normal. When you get to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and you go, I'm a lot hungrier than I should have been. So I think that plays a part.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think you make a great point with it being the norm. Like, for me, when I'm out, I was raised to yes sir, no sir, you clean up your mess, whatever, you open the door. So, like, I try to stress that on my kids. So to me, like, respect and courtesy are very important, especially not just inside the house, but outside the house. So, like, when I see things of, like, lack of decorum or lack of courtesy, it does prickle my haskell. You're just like, oh, what's wrong with, like, how? And I've always wondered if that's, like you said, if that's maybe because I was raised that way. So when something is out of my norm, it picks up on my radar. But I don't know. It just seems like, especially lately, it just seems like with the pandemic and everything, that it seems a lot of like courtesy and just common sense and respect is on a downward trend. But because, and I'm not trying to get political or whatever, but there's this whole like, well, why do I need to wear a mask? It's my personal choice. The science is inconclusive, yada yada. Like it. So what? Like if they're right, you save somebody's life. If they're wrong, you wore a piece of cloth on your face for a couple months and you look kind of like you look.
Yeah. Like,
but
that's a big inconvenience against a shitty inconvenience.
Right. And I think instances where I see a lack or my perceived lack of courtesy or respect, it just, I don't know, it's just something that I find drives me buggy. And I was wondering if that's just a me thing or if that's like like changes to society, because kids today, and even us, me and you being a little older, me being older than you, technology has shifted the way we communicate, the way we interact with people, especially like nobody calls anymore. You notice that?
Well, I mean, I hate calling.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Nobody calls. I hate calls. I don't want to talk on the phone. I love to talk on the phone. Don't text me. I can't tell if you're mad at me, if you're telling a joke. Like, I can't tell the inflection, the context, or the way you're trying to express yourself. So to me, getting a text message is like, what? No. Call me if you got something important to say. Don't send me a wall of text because I don't know which way it's coming. But I go to talk to my daughter, either one of them, and they're like, Dad, don't call me. Just text me. I'm like, no. Because I have a more complex train of conversation than fucking text.
I can be the argue of the other side. Like, I can be the argue from your daughter's side.
All right, let's go.
Because I wouldn't say scientific, but it's the way I see it.
Anecdotal.
In the last maybe year, I've done a lot more calling, only because I've been doing a lot more driving. So I have to use hands-free. I can't be texting. So if I'm calling like my boss or I'm calling like my friend or anything like that, I'll call them just on hands-free while I'm in the van and driving and stuff like that. There is certain topics where if I need an immediate sort of reply, I'll most likely call, just like if I'm in a store or something like that, and I'll call to say, look, I'm at the store, do you need anything before I leave? Because I know a lot of people don't do the texting thing, so if I text somebody, it's 4 hours before the reply, and then I'll get a reply, oh, can you pick me? It's like, no, I can't, because I'm home. But with the texting thing, I was always so busy with it. Like, I've been doing the deliveries and all that kind of stuff for 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to know. But I've been doing it for the last 12 years. And what it got to the point was my mate from Holland, we used to have a kind of running text thread, basically, where we would have like 7 conversations, 7 different paragraphs, like full-blown, like 4,000 word essays.
Right.
But the way my mind worked and the way her mind worked, because like ADHD was a thing, I would look, like, see, for me, text messages and that aren't important. See, I would look at the notification. If I deem it important, I'll reply straight away if I have the time. If not, we'd worked it that we had like 7 conversations going at the same time, and we replied every 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes we'd only reply to each other twice a day. But it would be like in the morning before I started work, I would reply to her message for when she went to her bed, and I would go type everything out. It would take me a good 30 minutes to type everything out. But the reason why I prefer texting is because ADHD and just how my mind works is I hate being put on the spot to converse. If you text me I can take 5-10 minutes to read what you've said, read what you've asked, formulate a reply, think it through, and then reply to it. And then you get all the information that you require in that. Whereas if we're on a call and you ask, if you're talking, it's like one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why this podcast I wanted to start with alcohol is because it sets me into a thing where I can just talk and everything's fine. Because if I was sober, this would be terrifying, because you would be expecting a rebuttal for me that I don't have enough time to think about what you're saying, think about an answer, think about the subject, and then form a reply. In this setting, you just need to be able to back and forth. Now, on the sauce, I can fucking talk for Britain, but that's where my mind kind of goes, is that it allows you to be able to think things through before just speaking your mind. And the funny thing about it is when people say, "Oh, texting's time, you should just call," it's normally the same people that will use the phrase "think before you speak."
Right.
That's just what we've taken, that generational thing of think before you speak, and that's what we're doing. It's just through text.
Yeah.
The difference that I've got for other people is, see, if I'm annoyed at you, I'm not someone that hides it. I will text you, I'm pissed off at you. Here's the reasons why, and very formative bullet points.
Right.
So you'll never ever feel confused as to my feelings towards you, because if I'm annoyed, you will know I'm annoyed, because I'll just tell you, I'm pissed off, I'm annoyed at this has annoyed me, and all that. So I think what the problem is there's too many people that don't like to call but don't articulate text enough.
Yes.
They hide
that's a great
behind
point.
it. They'll say what they want and leave it up to you to decipher and decide what it means, which is just shit. Like that. No, that I agree with you on that form, is that people are lazy texters.
Yes, definitely.
But texting is an actual way of communicating. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think you need to be able to use it properly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the difference between voice communication and texting is the methodology of thinking before you speak. Where if you're doing a voice conversation, you for the most part can hear inflection, tone, emotionality. Yeah. Where in a text, because like you articulated, people are lazy texters. They don't do the work to articulate in the text exactly what they're getting. So like if you text your friend and be like, "Hey, I know yesterday was rough. Are we cool?" And then your friend texts back, "Yeah, we're cool," or "Yeah, fuck you." Like,
yeah.
And that's where I have a problem, and it kind of tails back into my whole idea of like courtesy. Is like a lot of courtesy and social cues come off of languages that aren't verbal. We got body language, we got emotionality, we've got the way we just gesticulation is also part of body language, but like the way somebody gesticulates their hands when they talk, or they roll their head. You ever see those commercials where the commercial's like, "And this is the time where we..."
Yeah.
Like a lot of that I've noticed it in my kids especially, is body language and tonality is definitely gone. Understanding those things have definitely gone down, because like I'll come home, because I've talked to you on stream about it. I have several different voices that I use. Like I have my stream voice where I'm projecting and there's energy and I'm pop, 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 keeping things moving. And then there's that more private tone where I just, I sort of drop my tone and my voice is a little deeper. So like if I come home and my daughter's like, "Hey Dad, how are things?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine," whatever. If I use this sort of more deeper, like more relaxed bass tone, my normal sort of tone, she wigs out. She's like, what did I do wrong? Is something wrong? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I just don't feel like putting it out. I don't feel like putting on the voice. And I notice it too, that like, if I walk into a room a certain way and everybody looks at me, if I walk in and I don't like, sort of like bebop or body roll or whatever, they're like, oh shit, Dad's mad. If I just sort of walk in and put my stuff down and I'm a little hunched over, they're like, oh shit. So I definitely think in communication and social cues, body language and sort of tonality and I have definitely gone downhill due to just like the way we've sort of become more online connected. We're more personally disconnected in some ways. And I think that also leads to some of my frustrations in like social spaces, because I grew up in the generation where you hugged your boy, you high-fived your guy, you called him an asshole, like you had a more like physical, like body language, you had a more emotionality sort of social interaction, where now the younger generation like you and even younger generations like my kids are like, they just text whatevs, or like they'll walk a certain way, or like even if they're happy they walk a certain way, or like they just talk a certain way, and it's like, are you happy? Are you sad? Do you need a steak? Do I need to hit you with something? Like, because I don't think on some levels that they got what I got growing up, because of the way society changed and sort of tech has changed the world a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, like you said. I just think that I either need to be more patient and adapt to them more, or as a whole, we need to be less lazy with communication and remember that courtesy and respect and people have different perspectives of the way things are perceived. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just being an ass today. I don't know.
No, I don't say you're wrong. I think I definitely agree with a few of your points. I do think technology has come in the last 10, 15 years. Technology has came on leaps and bounds.
Okay.
Like it's went a lot faster than I think a lot of people expected.
Yep.
And I think one of the main problems is technology's moved on that fast, and we're still got too many people that aren't willing to accept that is like this is the new age. Like it's funny because you think back to the likes of the Stone Age, and then they moved into the Bronze Age,
right?
And I'd love to have seen that moment, like that transition period where, like, you had the older generations of the Stone Age going, look at these people with their fancy carts. Why can you not just put two sticks together and just drag like that? Like, I feel as if that's the same thing that's happening here. Is we've now moved from the age that we were in to the technology age,
right?
Where it's up to the kind of older generations to accept that this is where we're going, but it's up to like the now to implement teachings and how to use. Like, we've had so much technology thrown against or upon us, but you're still learning in schools things from the 80s,
right?
Like when I was in school, we had one computer class a week for an hour.
Yeah,
now, that was back in like the late 90s, early thousands. And then when we went into the kind of mid thousands, it was still, you'd maybe get 2 or 3 classes of computer kind of, and you're like, that's kind of still how it's done. Like, they've not moved on to go, well, technology's a bigger part. Let's implement more teachings to how to use the technology that we've got, rather than just shunning it as if it's this, or it breaks tradition. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure tradition of marriage used to be you club them over the head and drag them into your cave. What happened to tradition?
Facts.
So it's like, you can't pick and choose the traditions that you want to follow and demand that they're known as traditions.
Right.
Times change and we evolve. technology evolves, people evolve, nature evolves. The problem is too many people want to hold on to yesteryear, like the good old days. And you're like, well, your good old days aren't the same years as my year.
Right.
So it's like my good old days, I would say, was kind of mid-thousands to like 2012, 2013. I had a great time back then.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that somebody that was born in 2000 would turn around and say, well, 2005, they were the good old days, even though I can't remember them.
Right.
But we would turn around and go, well, like, people talk about like the 80s and the 90s. I loved the 90s. That's what I grew up in. But like,
me too.
I wouldn't say they were the best years of my life. But like, other people would disagree.
Right.
So on that, going back to that, I do think you're right in saying that the way some people text and that kind of stuff, it's hard to get those social cues. But at the same time, the two examples that you gave of you coming in, and if you didn't put on your bigger voice, your kids would think that they'd upset you. But that isn't the truth. That isn't what happened. So that's in face-to-face. They were still not able to understand the social cues. So you unable to understand the social cues in texting, and them unable to understand the social cues, that just shows that it's not that you value one side more than the other. It's just that you were born in a generation that was the norm.
Right.
Now, the norm for your daughters in that is technology, and maybe it's an opportunity for you to kind of go, like you were talking about on a Wednesday and a Thursday, you don't stream and that kind of stuff so that you can give like family time. Mm-hmm. But whenever you try to do it, your kids are like, oh no, I don't, I want to time with this or with that. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to go to like your daughter and go, right, I want to learn more about this texting.
Right.
How do I thing with this and that? And then you're learning how to kind of get into this age, but you're also able to spend time with your family, in which you can then impart, oh, that's quite interesting because this is how we would when we were growing up. And then you'll get that cross so that when you come in from work, and like everybody thinks that you don't have a bad day, you don't have a good day, you just come in and you just think, I just want to chill for a minute.
Yeah.
You're not in a bad mood, but it is like if I come in, like I know it myself, see if I come in and I'll go, okay, I'm just going to come straight up the stair into my room, I just want to take my shoes off, get out of my work clothes and just chill for a minute.
Right.
It is always is everything okay? I was like, aye, everything's perfectly fine. Today of all days, I just thought I want to sit down for 5 minutes.
Right.
So it's like, I would see it as an opportunity to be able to blend the generations, like use it to your advantage, rather than just say, oh, what you're doing is like, so like, get off your phone. Like, that is not an excuse anymore, because like, it is what it is.
Yeah,
it's life now.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I think that societal shift plays a major role in the way we perceive courtesy and respect, because maybe for somebody who's younger than me, being courteous is texting them instead of calling them.
Yeah,
it's a great point, and it's a great point of discussion, because all too often we get wrapped up, like you said, in the way things were, or the way we did things. And for me, I'm in my 40s, so like I didn't have computers growing up. Like they weren't a thing. Like I saw them come in. Like I was like, oh, like I watched them grow and develop, and I'm like, huh. And I didn't have my own computer till, fuck, man, I was like 25. Where my kids now they got a computer, they got a tablet, they got an Xbox. Like, And it's just like, and it's like, okay, one, I get that's your thing, but barring the pandemic, there's a whole great outdoors. Go do something.
Another aspect of it is I agree with the fact that, like, I've got a nephew who's 7, 8. I think he's 8 this year, and he likes to sit on the computer. He likes to sit on the Xbox. He likes to sit on his tablet and watch YouTube and that kind of stuff. Now, when he comes up to here, we've got a trampoline at the back.
Nice.
So through like the summer and all that kind of stuff, he'll be out there for 6-7 hours just timing. But it's like, it's hard to like, when I was younger, me and about 20 of my friends out in the street would be out playing hide and seek, chasing, football, rounders, all sorts. Now, it was about a year ago, and I still vividly remember it because I'd even made like a Facebook post about it, is I was driving along doing a job, and I seen 3 kids on their bikes with backpacks gone on a bike ride. And I thought, I have not seen that in years. I've not seen children outside on an adventure. Just going and enjoying the world. And I do think it is down to a lot of the technology and that kind of stuff. But I think at the same time, again, it comes down to how you kind of impart that. Like turning around and going, there's a whole thing, go outside and play and all that kind of stuff. But if you were to incorporate it of, you understand that technology is a main thing, but let's come to an agreement where at some point every week we go out and we see nature, we see things, we just go out and think, because it is, everybody keeps on turning around and saying, oh, there's a whole world outside, go through. But nobody wants to take them and show them the world. You just tell them that there's a world outside, and it's like, go out and play. And it's like, in this day and age, because of all the shit that people come out with in the world and how many arseholes there is that's completely ruined, the kind of like, nobody trusts to allow their children to go out in the streets and play because you don't know who else is in the streets.
Exactly.
So it's like, at that point, you need to take it upon yourself then, like, man, let's go in the car. We're going out,
and we do.
I'll show you the world that I knew.
Yeah, and we do big time. That's a huge thing for us. Is we do. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you made a great point, and I wanted to hit on it. We do. We go out to the parks. We go out to the gyms together. We go camping. We go see shit. Like because it is important to have that social interaction so you can learn those social cues that exist outside of technology. But it is also important to expand your knowledge of the world, because technology is great, but technology might not always be there. So in order to be a complete person, you kind of need to have more experience outside of the tech world. Like, I know how to hunt and fish and camp and hike, and I know how to read the stars and all that stuff. So if I know how to read a map, like, I can find my way around a city if I use a map, if my GPS fails, like, and I want to impart that to my kids. But I think a lot of that is, like you said, the generational thing of the paranoia factor is huge. Like, we live in a bad neighborhood, so I'm like, you guys can go hang out in the backyard, or if you're going to go somewhere, make sure you have a friend. Where back in the day, my mom was like, you're out of school, get the fuck out.
Yeah. I'd be like from 3 or about 3:15 in the afternoon when we left school until about 10 o'clock at night. I would be nowhere to be found, because we would all be like, even to the point we would be playing like armies and stuff like that. We'd be rolling about in the mud and that.
Yes, sir.
Even nowadays, everybody's like, oh, you can't let your wen be near the mud. So why? That's why there's so much illness in the world right now, is because you're not letting Timmy get that wee bit of germ in him. Like, exposure. Like, houses are so bleached and clean nowadays that, like, that was never us. Like, we were at the back making mud slurpees.
You're drinking out of the goddamn garden hose.
Yeah. Good shit. That was what you had done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great opener of discussing the generational differences, because one generation can perceive something so differently than another, from whether it be texting or phone calling or helping somebody in a shop to supporting somebody in a professional setting. I think it's incumbent that we look at these and try and say, how can we do our part? You know what I mean? Kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah, well, that actually opens up a great segue into your ramble, because when I read in the document what you wanted as the hot topic and then what you had as your ramble, and I thought those are two so super conflicting statements, whereas like you've literally spent the last like half an hour discussing how being nice is like a lost cause and that kind of stuff. People don't do it enough and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yet your community came together within hours.
Yes.
And has basically rebuilt your computer, and you're unable to process someone being nice. And we've just talked about how you don't see the nice stuff as much because it's just normal that it's something that you would do. Yet when it happens to you,
you're an asshole.
This form of like I know like you put up the imposter syndrome and stuff like that. But it's such a lost thing for me, where it's like how you can turn around and say that people aren't nice enough and they need to be more nice than that. But when people are nice to you, it's like, well, why are you being nice? Why, like, I don't deserve this. Why,
right.
Like, and it's like, well, that's not the point, because like, that's the kind of double-edged sword, because it's like, well, even if you didn't deserve it, it's not up to you to decide whether people be nice or not. But at the same time, like, it takes a lot to not deserve kindness from people, and like I mean I can't speak for everybody, but I've not came across a moment where I would go, you don't deserve this, because at no point in the life that would make me think otherwise. So it's like a strange thing to try and comprehend, how people being nice to other people you want to see more of, but when it's involving you, it's like, why? What you doing? Stop.
Yeah, it plays into the mental health discussion we had with Tim when Tim guest hosted. Me, I have a weird concoction of mental health issues, and one of the primary ones is.
Sorry to cut you in. Just before we actually I just want to say I listened to that episode back.
Okay.
When I posted it all up and that kind of stuff, and I just want to say, you and Tim and that mental health part, I thought you nailed it. Like, nice. Just the way you handled the conversation was just perfect to a mass kind of mentality of it, of just how you kind of shared your experiences, but you were able to kind of also like share the fact that not everyone will be able to or be helped with medication or this or that or that. Like the broad spectrum you sort of laid out on it, I thought was just phenomenal, and I just wanted to congratulate and just give you the credit where it was due for both yous in that segment.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I thought that segment was really well handled too, because Tim and I are very similar in some ways, but we're definitely really different. And the thing you brought up, and the reason I wanted to bring up my ramble is because the situation, I didn't post stuff on the Discord to be like, help me. Like, I posted it to inform everybody what the situation was. Now, for those of you that may be coming in and this is your first episode, a couple weeks ago, my computer started to have a lot of technical issues, and it's essentially dying. It's on its last legs. And I work a full-time job to pay my bills for my house, and I stream as a side project and do podcasting as a side project. to hopefully supplant my day job sometime down the road. So I don't necessarily have the funds to replace the technology that I have now to continue doing my side project. So I posted on Twitter and I posted on Discord, hey, this is what's going on. And one of the things I discussed with Bernadette was, should we lower the donation goal of getting a new system? Because originally we were like, oh yeah, we'll upgrade it. We'll take a year. We'll raise funds slowly. We'll upgrade it over time so that we have a better setup and we can do better podcast presentation shows like that. Well, when my computer hit the shitter, I posted it not as sort of like a, hey, help me out, as more of a, hey, this is the situation. This is where we're at. And the people on Twitter and Discord and in my personal life went, oh, shit, Dox is in a bad way. Here, let's boom, 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 boom. And in a matter of like 48 hours, what I went from like a baseline sort of like we can upgrade it over time computer turned into let's build this motherfucking monster of a rig out of spare parts and donation money. Here's the problem. And that's all great. Here's the problem. My crazy fucking ass has imposter syndrome and self-worth issues, which I've mentioned in depth in a previous podcast, but I'll briefly give you a synopsis of how my brain works. I think I don't deserve to be successful, and I think nice shit doesn't need to happen to me. I need to do for them, and everybody else needs to do for everybody else, because I am a horrible human being, and why would anybody invest in a dude like me? That's how my fucked up imposter syndrome and self-worth issues happen. So, in 48 hours, when my simple update goes to, hey, this is the situation, where everybody goes, oh, we got you, here's a new computer, boom. My brain then goes, fuck, what do we do now? How do we earn this? How do we live up to it? What are we going to do? How many shows do we need to run? How much more streaming do we need to do to make it worth their investment? What can I do? What can I pay them back? How can I do this? We need new art to make it worth its while. There's more games we can play now. There's new shows we need to do. You're not going to sleep for the next 2 years because everybody basically saved your bacon. So now you're going to have to work like a fucking mad dog more than you do just so that maybe, just maybe, you have paid them back for it. And then, even though my logical side of my brain is like, they don't want to get paid back. They're doing it because they think you deserve it. They think that you're good enough and they want you to continue and be successful. But then self-hating brain goes, logic, fuck that. Yeah. Self-hating brain goes, you don't deserve it. You're an asshole. And they're crazy for betting on you. So, the part of this, the reason I wanted to ramble about this is not only is I wanted to kind of like tell everybody thank you, but I also wanted to, if anybody's in a situation where they receive a compliment or a gift and they feel negative about it, which I do a lot of times. Like someone who tells me, oh, you're good looking. I'm like, no, I'm not. What the fuck's wrong with you? Or if they're like, oh, you're a nice guy. I'm like, no, I'm an asshole. Like those reactions are so natural to me that when this thing happened, it kind of put me in a headspace where I had to confront a lot of things that I not necessarily don't know how to confront, but it had me confront a lot of negative feelings that I had for no reason, and I had to recognize that none of this is in my control at this point. I put it out there as an update, and everybody else decided, independent of me, to do this. So when it happened, and I'll have to confront these feelings for a long time, I had to accept it, and I had to look at myself and go, there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do? Send it back? They'll hate your guts. Like, you can't not accept it because it wasn't, I didn't guilt trip people. I didn't beg people. I didn't sit there and go, oh, save me, save me. So when it happened organically and naturally, so that when I was in that headspace of having to confront my imposter syndrome and accept kindness, I kind of had a moment where I was like, either you accept it and fucking do some good with it, or you let everybody down and you are what you fear, like, not what you fear most, but like what we're saying you are. You're a fraud, you're a fake.
Yeah.
So either you accept it and you deal with it, or you become the fake. And I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel. Like, I feel overwhelmed because the way I was raised is you're a grinder. You don't count on nobody. You do the job. You don't stop till the job is done. And if you don't have it, you find a way to get it. Because no one is ever going to be there to help you out but you. And that may be a bad way I was raised, but my mom didn't have nobody. Like, she had boyfriends float in and out, but she earned every damn dime she ever had. She made sure we had clothes and shoes, and I was the oldest, so I had to do the same. And when this kindness happened, I had to have a conversation with myself, just like I had to have another conversation with myself when I got divorced. Because when I got divorced, my world was torn asunder. Like, I lost my kid, I lost the woman I loved, I lost my house, I lost my pets, I lost everything.
Yeah.
And then I dated around and slept around and dated my friend Amanda, who is one of my best friends, but there wasn't love and kindness there. There was kindness, but not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when Burnett came along, there was love there, and it was like, I don't know how to deal with this because the person who said they loved me left me. So accepting kindness and compliments for me is very difficult. And when this really nice gesture that happened organically and from a position of, we want to help you because we feel you're worth it, not because you conned us or begged us or manipulated into it, it's made me have more conversations with myself in a healthy way and in a negative way. And I think it's important for people who struggle with imposter syndrome and self-worth to understand that me, who is probably the worst imposter syndrome I've ever heard, can realize that maybe you're not a piece of shit. Then maybe those people who have similar things can realize that they're not a piece of shit too. I don't know. It's just the way my brain works. What do you think?
I never really had experience with imposter syndrome. I didn't actually really know much about it until like you and another couple of streamers actually started bringing it up over the last couple of months. So I don't really have much of a, like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a specialist or anything like that to be able to give advice and that kind of stuff. But what I can kind of thing me on it is I understand what it's like to have a lot of things kind of ripped from you.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotions that go into it of, did I deserve this? Was this my fault? Could I have done more and stuff like that? Which is just stupid. Like, it's a stupid thing to actually have in your head. Like, me now, I haven't been able to kind of work through it. I've kind of went, this is just stupid. Like, this is not how it goes. But you'd said about when your upbringing, you times you were told there's nobody that's going to be there for you. It's all down to you. You need to grind. You have to work. So you have to figure out a way to make it work. If time on a technicality, you can go, well, you figured out a way to get it to work, and that was to ask for help. Like, in a technicality, like, I wouldn't say like you went about it in a way I would say was an outright way, but technically you still went with your upbringing. I think what the thing was is, like, I mean, I'm 31 this year. I think you said you're 40, 41?
42 in July.
42 in July. So there's a good decade there, which is a long time in generational things. And it is one of these ones. You were obviously brought up in a time where it was a case of you have to grind and that, and you probably heard the whole you're a man and you have to
Oh
work and you
yeah.
have to provide and all that kind of stuff. And I think what the difference is nowadays it's a shock to the system in men around the world because it's been made more and more kind of societal for men to admit there's something wrong and
Right.
that they need help. And I know it's like you said that you were overwhelmed and that kind of stuff with how your community kind of like just started. I've got this part. I've got this part. We'll ship it in. We'll time it and all that kind of stuff. Like, I can understand how that can be overwhelming and that,
Right.
but I'd like to hope that through it all, like once you're able to kind of work through it and kind of get your head around it, that you'll hopefully be able to see that you're not alone in this world. Like
Right.
it's not just you. Nobody's going to be there to help you. That you've got a community with 20, 30 people there
Mm-hmm.
that will come in when it's needed.
Yeah.
You've got other communities and Discord communities that you're involved in that if you ever need help, there's people there. There's people out in the world that you've never met that are there to help you. And it goes for anybody else in that situation.
Right.
Is that no matter what you've been told about, it's just you against the world and you need to fight tooth and nail for yourself. So it's not how it is. Like, there's people there that will still go out their way through no gain of their own to help you and make sure that you're able to get on your feet. You're able to continue. Because the thing with like your computer and that kind of stuff, even if, right, and this is a big if, like, I hate to say it because I don't want it to sound as if it's been a jinx and all that kind of stuff, but if nothing comes of the streaming
Right.
on your end, at no point is anybody that sent in parts, sent in donations, sub to your channel in order to help you, are ever going to turn around and go, fuck, he let us down. That is never in a million years going to be the outcome of this, because if anybody has any involvement in streaming or Twitch or YouTube or anything like that, they know that the chances of success are so fucking slim.
Yeah.
That to put that amount of pressure on one single person is bullshit.
Yeah, it's rough.
If it comes that you're the next big thing and everything works the way you want, fan-fucking-tastic, because everybody in your community will sit there and go, I was part of that. I seen that for the start to where it is now. And see if it all goes to shit, they're not going to come battering at your door. Remember that time 40 years ago I gave you that RAM?
Right.
Pay it back. Like, that's not how it's going to work. And I hope at some point in the next while you will realise that. Because I know just how much this is eating at you mentally.
Yeah, it is in a way, but in another way, it's actually been pretty beneficial because I've had to have those conversations with myself over the last 48 hours, 72 hours to recognize that it wasn't. And I guess my own personal edification is I didn't. As long as I didn't manipulate people into helping me, as long as I wasn't shady about it, as long as I didn't abuse the relationships that I have to the people that helped, as long as it wasn't in a manipulation, I have an easier time accepting it and dealing with it. And I think through this, especially for me, it'll be a learning experience and something that I can work an example for myself and others from. But I think you raise a great point, and I think it's great, and I think imposter syndrome and self-worth are, for me, a lot harder to deal with because of the fact that I'm the oldest of my siblings and I had to help my mom, and I've got a family and a dog, and I'm the boss at work, so standards of excellence and having the ability to succeed are tantamount to putting food on the table.
Yeah.
And when there's a moment of, well, you did good, when there's an attaboy moment, whether it's a gift from somebody or a compliment, my brain goes, I don't need that. I'm doing my job. And I think this gift and the help from the community is having to have me sit there and go, okay, they're doing this because they think you're worth it. Shut up and recognize for once in your fucking life that it's not always grind. You're all alone. Even though like Bernadette's up there and she helps out, it's a personal mentality. I'm not saying like I'm alone, but it's that mentality of, well, I got to do my own. I got to carry my own weight. I got to work harder. And Tim linked an article, and I didn't get a chance to read it, but I'll make sure I tweet it out, or I'll link it in the post, because it mentioned different types of imposter syndrome, and I don't want to take forever because this has gone on a little longer than I wanted to, but I think now that I've been forced to accept more things of kindness, like from Bernadette, learning to cliche love again. Ugh, I hate that word. Learning to be wanted again by a female or a significant other, learning to be accepted and relied upon by a community to not relied upon is the wrong word, but like knowing that I provide a positive impact on a community of people outside of my little pack are all blows to that imposter syndrome in the best way possible. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's my thought on it. Let's jump into your ramble off of me, because we're good. I gotta go shower after this podcast now.
No, well, my one is it's a bit more of a local story. My football team, Rangers, after 10 years of pretty much the worst time in their history, we on Sunday we achieved our league title win.
Nice, congrats.
Back in 2012, well, a bit of the history: Rangers and Celtic, two biggest clubs in Scotland, pretty much. A lot of sectarian stuff between it, but that's neither here nor there. But in 2012, Rangers were put into administration. The club had went bankrupt. The HMRC, which is our basically like government tax kind of thing, had claimed that Rangers had defaulted on tax payments that raked up into the 40 million kind of mark.
Wow.
So Rangers were put into administration. The club's assets and stuff like that were sold to a new buyer. And in that process, the Scottish League demoted Rangers from the top league to the 4th division for the new campaign.
Right.
That meant that Rangers basically had to start from the start again. And it took 5 years to get ourselves back up into the top division. We'd won the first 2 divisions quite easily, and then the third or the first division we didn't win the first season, and then managed to come up the next season.
Right.
In the last couple of years, it's been a bit of a rebuilding process. We've brought in some managers that worked, some managers that failed miserably on a Rangers standpoint. And then we brought in he actually, well, I don't know if you'll know him, but he played in LA for a while. Steven Gerrard, who was a
Yes.
Liverpool legend, um, we brought him in as our first team manager. It was his first big job from the under 18s at Liverpool. His first 2 seasons were a rebuilding. He shipped out something like 27 players.
Oof.
He brought in a whole bunch of his own players who he wanted. And during all this time, Celtic had run away with their decade of dominance. They'd won 9 league titles in a row, a feat that has been accomplished by both Rangers and Celtic once before.
Nice.
Rangers done it the late 80s, early 90s. Celtic had done it, I think, back in the 40s or 50s. They'd won the 9 in a row, and everything was on this season. Rangers had came close the last 2 seasons, and then after the winter break, just sort of fell away, ended up losing by many points and stuff like that. But this season, everything relied on it, because the thought of Celtic winning 10 in a row was like, it's funny because outside of kind of like Glasgow or outside of Scotland, it is seen like that, like it's a laughing kind of god.
Right.
But see here, it's a religion.
Yes.
It's the thought of Celtic winning 10 in a row, like, turned my stomach.
Yeah.
And I'm not even your avid supporter. I don't go to games. I watch the games on the telly. But just the thought was sickening that if Celtic were to win, like, granted that the arguments were made that the 10 in a row was always over. Like, when we won the 9 in a row, it was 9 years of dominance over Celtic. When Celtic won the 9 in a row, it was 9 years of dominance over Rangers.
But they can't get that 10 though.
Well, the thing with it is the 4 of the seasons that Celtic have, Rangers weren't in the division. So technically you can't argue that it was dominance over Rangers, because Rangers weren't in that division.
Okay.
That's one of the arguments that Rangers fans are trying to make. But at the end of the day, they were going for 10 in a row, and it was a thing. But for some, like, godlike miracle reason, this season Celtic crumbled. They spent millions bringing in players that Rangers couldn't really compete with over years of just not making the money that Celtic were able to make.
Okay.
So this past weekend, Rangers finally, after 10 years of waiting, won their 55th league title of their history, which is the most league titles any club in the world has ever won.
Damn.
Rangers are like you've got like your Real Madrids, your Barcelonas, your Milans, your Manchester United. Rangers is the most successful club in world football. They've won the most titles, trophies, cups throughout the years. And the point that I was wanting to actually touch on was, after 10 years of this, during the fact that we're in the pandemic and there's a lockdown and that, many Rangers fans went down to the stadium, congregated, broke social distancing rules and all that kind of stuff, which we need to, like, that should not have happened.
Right.
The club came out and stated, or Steven Gerrard came out and said that fans need to go home, but at the same time, you have to understand that their emotions will get the better of them. Yep. It's a big occasion. So now, these things aren't what I want to talk about. The negatives that I want to talk about is through my Facebook now. Since Saturday and Sunday, fireworks galore out my bedroom window.
Right.
Everybody was out setting fireworks because it was a big occasion for Rangers. And my Facebook and other social media things were basically filled with people complaining and moaning. So, all these people, it's only sports, do. And the bit that I just get is, why can't people just let someone enjoy something? they're not hurting anybody. Like,
No.
the ones that were breaking the social distancing rules and all that, yeah, condemn them. They shouldn't have been doing that.
Right.
But setting off fireworks, having a sing-song, putting a flag outside your window, why is that such an effect to your life that you have to go out your way to try and condemn it? Like it's not as if it was going to last for months. It lasted 2 days. Just let people enjoy themselves. Like, it doesn't even have to be in this occasion with Rangers. Just in most situations, if someone is enjoying themselves, it's as if it's a law that there must be someone there to tell you how you're wrong.
They're called
and
Karens.
How you shouldn't be doing it.
They're called Karens.
I mean, I can't really use that term because my mum's name is Karen. So,
I know, it's such a bad term, isn't it?
Let's feel sorry for the actual Karens that are named Karen.
Exactly.
They have the worst stereotype in the world, and they've done nothing wrong.
Exactly. And that I mentioned that because that's hitting on your point. People can't let people have celebrations because it infringes upon their perceived personal privacy or personal space. It's you're disturbing my calm. You're disturbing my truth. Oh, it's just a football game. Go away, go down the street, celebrate later. Yeah. Sports victory is catharsis, emotional release. Like, I can relate. 10 years. If they'd have got that 10th win, you'd have been like, fuck!
They'd got the 10th win, I would have gave up in football.
Yeah! You'd have been like,
I would
no!
never have watched another game of football. That would have been it for me. That's how much feelings was going to that. Yeah. But the funniest thing about it is, like you were saying, there's always see the people that are outside complaining. They're the ones that I get woke up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday because they're out getting work done in their garden,
exactly,
or getting an extension built, or getting something done in their house that wakes up the entire street. And you're like, if I went across to you and said, see that saw, if you don't shut that fuck up, I'm going to use it on your throat.
Yeah.
I would be the bad guy.
Exactly.
But them turning around and saying, you shouldn't be setting off fireworks because your team won a game of football. Like, why are they getting that support? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And it's one of those things that I hate getting annoyed at, things that are so pointless and unimportant in the world. Like, it really is. It's just it boils my blood when I get upset. It's like when I play a game and it annoys me. I'm like, why am I getting annoyed over a computer game? Like, I understand people, like, it's a serious thing for people and it's an escape for people. But for me, it's not. It's a video game and I hate being upset by it.
Right.
And it's a similar thing with this. Is like, it annoys me more that I'm upset by it than what it actually is that's upsetting me.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
I just feel as if people need to try and take a step back and just let people enjoy what they enjoy. Like, you can say that in so much things, like homophobic and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What does it matter who that guy's sleeping with in his bedroom or who that woman's seeing after work? It makes no difference to your life whatsoever. So, like, it's a similar thing. I mean, I'm no saying that what the LGBTQ plus community deal with is on par with this. Like,
clearly you're not
saying that, but I'm just meaning it in a, why do people have to take their life and put it in a personal attack on everything when it has nothing to do with them? They're not hurting anybody. They're like, I would say if somebody came out, stuck a firework up your cat's arse and lit it, be upset, condemn them. But if they're simply just enjoying themselves and celebrating such a minute thing of the world, like outside of Scotland, this means nothing.
Yeah, I didn't even know
But
about
yet
it.
you're still getting the social media outcry as to why it's a terrible thing and that this government have to condemn them and this and that. Like there is genuine calls from supporters of the other side to the government of Scotland to condemn Rangers and strip them of their title due to the fans' outbursts. And you're like, what the fuck?
I think what it comes down to is kind of what we've talked about since we started this podcast. A lot of that comes from everybody's personal sense of entitlement of, well, I can have my thing, but as long as your thing jives with my thing, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But the minute your thing doesn't jive with my thing, that's wrong. Right? So if Rangers they pull off the victory and a bunch of hooligans are out lighting fireworks, not hurting nobody, not causing no damage, shouldn't matter. But because it happened at nighttime and those fuckers got plans to put an extension on Saturday morning, it messes up their sleep for their plans because those hooligans are in the street partying over just a stupid game. But yet I'm in my bed on a Saturday morning and you're fucking cutting the lawn, so you're disturbing my peace.
Exactly. Like, I had this argument a couple of weeks ago in which I work weekends. Right. I mean, now I take a Sunday off and I take a Tuesday off or the Tuesday morning off so that I can do this.
Right.
But it was actually right. I used to work weekends because the normal 9 to 5 Monday to Friday work does not exist anymore, really.
No,
like
not
we
at all.
work 7 days a week, any days that goes. So I would work the weekends. So my days off used to be a Monday and a Tuesday.
Right.
So on a Monday night, I would decide, well, I'm going to have a drink because it's my weekend and thing it. And then I would get you need to remember people are working tomorrow.
Yep.
You need to remember people are working tomorrow. And it's like, well, I work on a Saturday and I'm kept up till 4 a.m. with arseholes fucking drinking out the street on a Friday night. Why the fuck are you not going out and telling them people work tomorrow?
Because it's the weekend.
But it's not my weekend.
I know. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. It's you cannot tell me to keep it down on a Monday night because people are working the Tuesday and not do the same in the time. At the end of the day, everybody stop drinking. Yeah. You're not allowed to have fun and enjoy yourself. Because if I'm going to get told that I'm not allowed to do it because my days off are different for yours, then it's like there's just like it all ties in is people need to just simply grow the fuck up.
Yeah, they do.
And accept that what you do and what you think may not be normal.
Yeah.
It may not be society's way of doing things.
Right.
It may not be what we're moving into. What you have to do is grow up and shut the fuck up and get on with your life. Because what someone else does next door to you means fuck all to you. Unless it physically impacts you and your life, shut up. Leave it alone.
I would say there's one caveat to that. I agree with everything you said except for one thing. If it involves a dangerous situation where someone is being harmed or whatever, then by all means do what you can to assist.
Oh no, that
I know what you meant, but I wanted to make sure I clarified that.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, if it's going to impose a physical threat on yourself or anybody around you, by all means, like we're not saying you're like allow law breaking or that kind of stuff to go, but on the terms of if someone is just simply enjoying themselves and it's not hurting or impeding anybody else, why the fuck do you care? Why should you care?
It's the exact same discussion we had about privacy and like when we were talking about cancel culture.
Yeah,
it's another lens of that cancel culture is like, well, you're doing something I don't like, so fuck you, stop what you're doing, so that I can do what I like. But yet, if you come and bitch to me about what I like, then you're the bad one. Like, what the fuck, man? I totally agree. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, you're not breaking any laws, and nobody's in imminent danger, I don't give a shit what you're doing. Jim Bob down the street, could be grilling in his fucking bikini hammock, like banana hammock and nipple pasties. I don't care, because it doesn't affect my life.
So long as you offer me a burger, all is well.
Okay, I'll take the burger, but if you gotta say I gotta wear a banana hammock, that's where I draw the line. I'll wear boxers, no banana hammock, because
That could be swayed. It depends how good the burger is.
There ain't nothing that anybody wants to see in a banana hammock. I got like a twig and ginkgo-berries. I mean, if I can make a banana hammock work, maybe, but nah. But
it's not what everybody else thinks. It's how you feel wearing that banana hammock, and I feel free.
Free. Scotland is free. All right, buddy, that was a great ramble. Let's move on to some game releases. We'll do some culture shock, and then we'll wrap it up with a happy ending. We got about an hour, so we can blitz through these and have a good discussion. So, game releases. I'm gonna let you take the lead because you did a lot of these. I know about them.
All of them.
You know what? I was at work, fucker.
So was that.
Shut up.
Some mates just don't slack.
Hey, right there, okay? Right there, big boy. What do you got?
There's 3 games that I'm looking forward to. One of which I can't play because I don't. But still, I thought people need to know about it.
All right.
The first one, MotoGP
Nice.
Season 21. I've played everyone for the last few years, and I will be getting this one. Release date is scheduled for the 22nd of April. It's literally out on all platforms from PC, Xbox Series, PlayStation, Switch. It's out for it all, and the graphics, which is kind of the first and foremost thing that you always, as a motorcycle enthusiast,
right?
The look of the game is one of the first things that you want, and the game looks fantastic compared to what the last couple of years were, which were still phenomenal kind of things. I've not been able to see much gameplay footage of the game, but from what I've been reading, the game mechanics and the physics are second to none. They've completely revamped them. Like the last game last year, like they still had the little bits where like some of the physics and the kind of the crashes and stuff like that, they just made no sense. How a 200 mile per hour bike should not be able to go from gravel to wet and still survive.
Right.
That is not how that works. But for some weird reason in MotoGP 20 it was. But as far as I've been reading and seeing in like kind of like press releases and stuff like that, they seem to have just revamped all of it, and they've just got everything down. The gameplay is a lot more immersive. The game modes seem to kind of expand to a lot more of the typical MotoGP season.
Right.
The career mode especially, as far as I've seen, it just seems to be second to none on what the last few seasons have been. It's a lot more gripping. I wouldn't say so much the storyline, because there's normally not that much storyline, but there's a lot more involved in a more realistic feel of a MotoGP season.
Okay.
From kind of like your first practice to your qualifying to the actual races, to your training and stuff like that. Everything about it just seems to be different from most generic sport. Like when you talk about FIFA and you talk about Pro Evolution Soccer, talk about Madden, you talk about NBA, you talk about NFL, it's always the same that come out of EA every year without changing.
No innovation.
Like it's always like they've maybe changed a couple of graphics, they've maybe put in some more game faces, maybe some of the mechanics are slightly better than before, but they've never really dealt with the main issues of the game. MotoGP seems to have done that. They've seemed to have taken the pandemic and made it a positive. They've taken that opportunity to go, let's look at this.
Right.
Let's fix what we need to fix. We've got the time. Let's do it.
Okay.
And it just seems like I genuinely cannot wait for it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting a hold of it.
MotoGP is that European style, like, sport bike over the handlebar, sort of like hunched over. We would call them crotch rockets. We call them crotch rockets over here, but they're like the sport bikes where they're kind of hunched over. Yeah. So, I watched a couple MotoGP races as a kid. I never got into it. Like, I don't get into racing, but like when you posted it, I did have some time to watch some trailers and look into it. And you're right, the physics engine looks to be overhauled. A lot of the ground up mechanics look to be overhauled. The like you said, the career mode looks to have went through some major changes. And I wish that same level of iteration and innovation would go into like the Madden series, the FIFA series, the NBA 2K series, because it doesn't seem like it. So yeah, MotoGP looks good. I'm not into it. I'm not going to play it, but I'm glad you are. And it looks like it's something that would be worth picking up if that's what you're into, for sure. What do you got next?
Oh, definitely. The next one is a bit different. It's a game called Urban Flow. It comes out on the 23rd of April for Switch.
Yes.
Basically, it's one of the games where you can get lost in the likes of your Stardew Valley, your Sims, your theme park worlds and stuff like that. Basically, what it is you are in control of the traffic system.
Yes.
You're in control of the traffic lights and the way it works. And there's challenges and stuff like that you can do, but I think in the most part is you're the creator. Yes. You're the one that fixes basically the urban flow.
Yeah.
As it goes. I've watched the kind of the trailer for it. I've seen some of the gameplay stuff. I wish I had a Switch to be able to get this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely suggest anybody that's got a Switch even to look into this game, because it just seems like one of those ones where if you're in the mood for just that chill little gaming session where you don't want to have to think about too much, you just want to enjoy some fun, it's a game that you could proper getting lost in.
Yeah, I watched the trailer, and at first I was like, Urban Flow. I thought it was like a skateboarding or like an inline skating sort of like urban parkour kind of potential. And then when the trailer dropped, I had this like, huh? And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, it's not for me. But I can see what you're doing here. The fact that you were manipulating the traffic lights. Now, the one thing that the trailer didn't make clear to me, and maybe it's just me, is, are you constructing the city as well? Or are you just constructing the roadways and the traffic lighting?
See, that is one thing I've not been able to really...
I haven't found it either.
See, I've tried to figure out and see if it is a thing. As far as I've seen, it's already created scenarios that you then have to kind of fix and deal with, kind of thing. I'd like to hope that either in the game or eventually that'll be the way they'll go forward, because I do think it would be like the likes of like City Skylines,
Sin City, that,
where you had not a lot of it. Like, you could get mods that would put you more in control, but this seems to be kind of straight in a lot more.
Right. More traffic.
It's more the kind of traffic situations as opposed to the city builder.
It seemed more dialed into like the urban flow and the traffic efficiency than the actual city building. So, I mean, it's definitely not for me, but I like the low poly art style. And I like how they give you the power to like kind of create or solve the traffic scenarios, because that's one thing we take for granted in the modern world. Like, how often do you think about civic planning?
mean, when I'm stuck in traffic, I think about it for a good while.
That's about the only. That's my point. That's the only time you think about why the fuck is this stoplight here. So yeah, I think a game like that approaches an angle like that where it's not something you see. I think it has a chance to be almost a cult hit because it does have that get in the flow mentality, solve a problem, be efficient, and just relax. And I mean, it's not my bag, but I could definitely see the benefit of somebody who enjoys that game. So yeah. All right, what do you got? Humankind is the last one you got, huh?
Yeah, this is one that I'm really excited for.
Okay.
Like, it's only coming out for PC at the moment.
Right.
Which I think it needs to be, because if you've ever played The Sims on PlayStation,
oh my God, it's awful.
It is just shocking. But Humankind is basically sort of it's not so much a city builder; it's more a civilization builder. Even though you do have the kind of, you have to create your cities and stuff like that, but there's a couple of wee bits here that kind of explain it. So, you create your own civilization by combining 60 historical cultures from the ancient to the modern age. Each culture brings its special gameplay layer, leading to near endless outcomes. So basically, the way it gets set up is you create a civilization, but you can discover the different historical events that have happened, from building pyramids to getting to the moon, the wars and that. So it's like in the trailer, there's that bit where it's like the Chinese dynasty fighting alongside the British army.
Yes, I saw that.
Of the modern world. So it's like you're building a civilization that you're combining different ages, which not only for would I say it as a kind of gaming standpoint, but as an educational standpoint, I think is another way, because you will learn so much about it, like the different historical moments and stuff like that. Like, face historical events, take impactful moral decisions, and make scientific breakthroughs, discover the natural wonders of the world, or build the remarkable creations of humankind. So, like, there's everything about it just seems to scream, this is going to be the game of the year. This is going to be the game that you're going to want to play. It's your newfound Sims. It's your newfound city skylines. It's your theme park world. It's your Civilization 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's everything combined into one. And the fact that it's a PC game just means the setup, the graphics and that are just going to be, like, looking at the artwork and stuff like that, it does have that sort of, it's hard to tell what the graphics are going to be like, but I'm super excited that no matter what way, because in like some of the images it's like a kind of comic book-esque kind of artwork, and then in other parts of the trailer it's a lot more realistic graphic, and it's like both I am completely down for. Like, both work for me in this situation.
Yeah, you posted the link, and when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's Civilization." Like, how is it different from Civ? Was my first thought, and then I sort of watched it a little bit, and I read a little bit of the article, and to me, it doesn't seem as what's the term I'm looking for? It doesn't seem as micromanaging on a city or empire builder level, where it seems to be more focused on the personal aspect. You are creating the civilization. You are leading your people. Yeah. The empire building and the city management, that's sort of like not as center stage as you being the leader of the humankind, your humankind, telling your story of humanity. And I think in some ways that will be a more interesting game for people like me who can't stand Civ. I can't stand it. I love Civ as a concept. I love the technology behind the games. I love the detail. Somebody could back a Brinks truck and be like, Dox, you're going to play Civ 7. And I'll be like, nope. They're going to give you $100,000. Nope. Sorry, can't help you because I just, I don't have the level of minutia, the level of, okay, send that guy there. The city management. I don't have the level of city management skill to make, even though I own the Civ games because my friend sent them to me. They're like, you got to play Civ. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, I sent it to you. Fuck. I don't have that level of detail. Like I don't like that much on my plate because I already got so much on my plate. Where Humankind focuses more on like the leader, leading the people and kind of conquering or diplomacy. It's more of the people aspect and not the empire aspect. And I think I want to play that for me more than the empire building, which I don't know, man. It looked cool. Like you said, the art style was great, and the different storylines and combining different civilizations is a unique angle. But I think it's gonna struggle to break out of it's just Civ Light. So it's really got to hit that story building or that you are the civilization creator. They're gonna have to dial it in. They're gonna have to hit it hard because a lot of people are just gonna make that surface comparison. They're like, well, just play Civ if that's what you want. And I don't think it is Civ, and I hope it gets out of that. But I think that's going to be its main sort of like gamers and pundits and people who review it are going to be like, yeah, but it's Civ Light, and I think that's a micro way of looking at it because that's initially what I thought until I read more into it, and I hope it can live up to it because it looks really interesting. Intellectually, I don't know mechanically if it's my jam, but it looked really good.
Yeah, I hope so myself that it lives up to the kind of expectation. Like I hate looking forward to games. I hate looking because I hate having that expectation build because it's never what you expect. I'd rather just it drop and me go, well, I'm going to go pick it up. But this one's just one of those games that I have been keeping an eye on for a while.
Yeah, it's like I said, it looked interesting to me more so than a Civ game because you are focused on the people more and the events that the people have more so than the empire itself because civilization removes the people aspect. People are resources in Civ. And only every once in a while do you see your leader and it's, I want to broker a trade or we got to declare war. This tends to put the focus back on the people. And that's what intrigues me about Humankind. Yeah, and I think it'll be cool. But yeah, man, good group of games. Next week I'll now that I won't have so much crazy shit on my plate, I'll be able to pick out some titles. But yeah, let's move on. We didn't get to do Culture Shock the last 2 weeks because one, tech issues, and then Tim had to sit in. So hit us up with some more Culture Shock. Let's have a debate. Let's go. What do you got?
Yeah. Right, well, the first kind of one that I've kind of like, I'll have to kind of run. These will be kind of quick because this was like 2 weeks ago where I came with these ones, and I've kind of there was articles that I'd read to get these things, and the articles have kind of bye
off in the ether. Yeah, exactly.
But the first one I wanted to think about is the whole telling time, which sounds like why would that be an amazing difference? But
it is.
The article that I'd read kind of put it in a like I thought time was weird when I went to Holland, and again you think how can time be different? It's not how time is different; it's how we describe time. Like if I turned around and said it was 8:30, that's how like we would say it's 8:30, which is 8:30.
Right, that's what I thought.
Right, but we would just say it's 8:30, or it's 8:15, or it's 8:20.
No, 8:15 is 8:15.
Yeah, 8:15.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I was right.
Yeah, so it's like 8:15, 8:30, and then it's 9:15.
Okay.
Which is 8:45.
Yeah, I don't say those. I'm like, it's 8:30, it's 8:15.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've kind of thing. And the funniest thing about it is, see if you actually go to like in Holland, and I can't. I'm not able to proper explain it because I still was unable to wrap my head around it. But see, in Holland especially, and there's other countries that say, if I said to you it's 8:30, in Holland that means 7:30.
What?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, you can look this up. Like, it is an actual thing. Like, anybody listening, look up the kind of the differences between the UK and Dutch timing, and that, because I used to always time it. It's like I would like my friend's mum would be like, "Oh, what time such and such coming?" And I'd be like, "At 8:30." All right, no problem. And then an hour early, they'd be like, "Right, so where are they?" It's like, "No, it's still another hour before they come." So, but you said it was half, and like that's where I'd first got the kind of thing with it. They'd said it in a different way,
Right.
like, I don't know why.
Yeah,
It
right.
seems tiny, but that was kind of the first one that I'd thought of, was just such a, like, us turning around, because it's the same with like a fortnight. When we say it's a fortnight,
That's
that's
2 weeks
2
from now.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stuff like that, and it's just, but it was just the whole 8:30, and you're like, because I can remember when my American friend came across, again, we were like, we're going at 8:30, and it was a, huh? Like,
Reggie?
so, like, luckily I've been able to, like, with dealing with people from different cultures and stuff like that, and like I can understand a lot more where, like, I've got to a point where, like, even in text messages and stuff like that, it's like I use it as a 24-hour clock. So if it's 11:08, because that was the other thing, is that for us, if I'm saying it's 8:30, right, so it'll be like 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm texting that it's in the evening, it'd be 20:30.
Yep.
Whereas what this article was saying is, in America, it's more the AM PM thing. So it's like, you would say it's 8:30 PM, whereas we would say it's 20:30, and that's it. I mean, normally we would say 8:30 at night,
Right.
or in the evening. But it's just such an interesting thing that something as simple as telling the time is completely different across the board.
Yeah, we have similar stuff here. Like, when, like, a lot of times we'll be like, all right, well, I'll see you in a little bit. Well, what do you, like, a little bit to you is what? Like, if I said I'm gonna be there in a little bit, what's a little bit?
Yeah, but between 10 minutes and half an hour.
Nah, not here. Little bit, half hour to hour and a half. That's a little bit. So, like, if someone calls me and be like, yeah, I'll be a little bit, and I'll be like, all right, I got about an hour. We're over there, you're like, oh, it's 10 minutes. I show up an hour later, you're like, you said a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right on time. It is a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We would say, eating over an hour, you'd say is a bit. It's not a little bit.
Yeah, right. Or another one we got is especially down south. When I was down south, a friend of mine was like, so I would be like, oh, where are we going? He's like, we're gonna go over there. I'm like, when are we going? He goes, whenever. When is whenever? Like,
whenever?
When like now? Late, like after dinner? When's whatever? It's like, whenever's whenever. Bro,
that one's lost. That one's, I don't understand that one.
Right, and that's what I mean, is like down there, because they move slower, the culture's slower. It's not, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, essentially. Where up here it's like 8:15, 8:30, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Down there whenever is like whenever. So even within my own country, there's differences in time, because on the West Coast it'll be like, you could be like, I'll be right there, and like they're right there. Where I'm at, I'll be right there means 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's just mind blowing just how something so simple can be. But it's the same with the next one that I put on it, that it's such a simple term.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it was an article I'd read that kind of thing we do. But it's the whole please situation, right? Now, the article that I'd read on it kind of stated that in a restaurant in America, right, you would say, like, to the waitress or the server, you'd be like, give me the pancakes and eggs, or I'll have the pancakes and eggs.
Ooh, I want pancakes and eggs now.
I
want pancakes and eggs now.
Yeah. Whereas in the UK, it would be, can I have the pancakes and eggs, please? And this article seemed to proclaim that in the situations like that, in like restaurants and stuff like that, please isn't used because at the end of the day, that's their job. Why are you thanking them for doing their job?
Okay.
It's just that's what they do. Whereas here, that was why like your whole like common sense and courtesy and manners and that was a bit of a lost one, because here like manners are still so, compared to what I've seen in that article about America, and that sense, like we would never like customer service and that. There is some people in the UK that are just assholes when it comes to customer service and stuff like that. But it's like, for us, it is a case of you're supplying a good service for us. Like, you don't have to give us more food. So it is a bit of a more of a like, oh, can I please have the such and such, or thanks very much and stuff. Whereas, again, I don't know if that is how it actually is. Like, I don't know how often you go into a restaurant, ask what you tell them what you want with a please, or...
Okay, I know what you're getting at. Me personally and my family, my kids, when we go out to a restaurant, it is very much, I would like to have, or can I please have, because the server will come over and go, okay, are you guys ready to order? We'll be like, yeah, and then she'll go, okay, what would you like? And she'll point to like one of my kids. My kid will instantly say, can I have the lasagna, please? Or my other kid will be like, I would like the cheeseburger, please, and thank you. And when they get to me, it's like, I would like the steak medium rare, thank you. I would appreciate that, thank you. Where I have seen other diners just be like, yeah, I'm going to have the steak.
Yeah.
And I think when the article was talking about it's their job, so why are you being polite to them? Why would you say thank them? Because that's their job. I think that harkens back to the way customer service has changed and the perception of people who do customer service. Because a lot of times in America, which is like consumer driven to the nth degree, we often forget that the people who are doing the customer service, the people that are cooking our food, the people that are bringing our food, are still people. Yeah. And I think because we're so quick and so convenient driven, so consumer driven, it's like, yeah, that's actually Jennifer, the server, who has to go home to her 2 kids, and she'll be lucky if she made $50 in tips tonight because she got paid $2.50. Like, yeah, all too often, especially here in America, like I've seen in the Midwest and down south, I see, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but in the Midwest and down south, the please and thank you is definitely more prevalent. But like, definitely, like, I've been to the West Coast, and a lot of times it's like, yeah, I'll just take avocado toast and a mimosa, and then they'll be like, whatever. So I think it's a regional thing. And I think it comes down to the fact that customer service and the perception of who the people who do the customer service are have changed dramatically over the years. Because back in the day, you could be a cook in a diner and make a living to provide for your home. And when you went into the diner, you knew that Steve was manning the grill and that Barbara was working the counter, Max was the busboy, and Heather was the server. Like, you knew them. You go out now and you're like, who the fuck are you? Who's making my food? They're a name tag. They're not people. Back in the day, they didn't wear name tags. You knew that they said, "Hey, I'm Heather. I'm I'm your waitress, honey. What would you like?" They knew your name. They knew what you like because you went there. Now, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a restaurant or it's a chain, we're just like, yeah, I'll take the onion rings and a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Because they're servers. They're not people. They're cooks. They're not people. And I think that's what that article might have been trying to get at, is the loss of the people connection in like customer service.
Yeah, because I think that is the thing, because that was another kind of culture thing that you did bring up, was when you had said, it's time that you kind of give like common courtesy to wait the service and that kind of stuff, because they might not have made $50 in tips because they only got that. So and like that's another kind of difference here, is that we don't have tips as much as we offer tips as a voluntary thing, because we pay our servers.
Right.
Our servers get a minimum wage.
We don't.
Like our servers work 10 hours, they get 10 hours worth of pay. Any extra tips that we give at the end of our meal is extra.
Right.
So like our servers don't rely on tips to pay their bills, because it's like, because we consider them employees. Like that's because that was the thing. Whenever you hear about they're fighting for $15, and I was but what is the whole $15 thing, And then that's where it says they're wanting the thing that the staff will get paid $15 an hour, and you're like that. Yeah, but that's because they're still like, take away the tips, force the restaurants to pay their staff for what they're doing. Like you can't turn around and say, "Oh, it wouldn't work." Like every other country in the world pays their staff. Like it doesn't matter if you're flipping burgers or you're building a rocket. You pay your staff.
Well, I saw an article that said, I think it was either Denmark and Sweden. They were comparing McDonald's, right? Everybody's going to McDonald's. I think it was either Denmark or Sweden. Again, the article in the ether. They get $22 an hour, 6 weeks of vacation, benefits, 401k matching. Over here, you work 40 hours, 50 hours at the Mickey D's for $7.25, and you don't get shit. That's the working at the McDonald's.
Even here, we have the minimum wage, and I'll look it up right now. I'm going to mute so that my mouse or my...
That's fine, because I got another point. When you were talking about servers, over here in restaurants, servers make $2.75 an hour plus tips. How the $2.75 an hour plus tips? What the fuck is that nonsense?
Right, I'm just going to have a little look.
Yeah, do your thing.
Right, current rates for national living wage. So this is the wage that employees must pay their staff. Ours is on a age basis technically, as it's timed. So apprentices, they get £4.15 an hour. Okay. Now apprentices are normally 15, 16-year-olds that are still going to school, or only working maybe 4 hours at the weekend. Right. That's what the apprenticeship is. Under 18s, you get $4.55 an hour. 18 to 20, you get $6.45 an hour. Okay. And then 21 to 24, you get $8.20. 25 and over gets, $8.72 an hour. Now, I don't know what the conversion rate is.
You guys are about $1.50, so it would be like $12 an hour.
So our McDonald's, now I've just read there that the rates go up as of the 1st of April 2021, which is the new tax year. Our things go up to $4.30 apprentice, $4.62 under 18, $6.56 18 to 20, and then they're lowering it 21 to 24 to 21 to 22, which is $8.36. Then it's $8.91 for 23s and over.
Oh, okay.
which is like compared to what you're saying about like they're fighting for $15 an hour. You're like, I mean, that's still over minimum wage, but it's still the case of they're still working 40 hours and making 20 hours worth of work.
Yeah. The
Like,
I think the whole fight for 15 comes from the argument of what is a living wage. And
oh, definitely.
that debate is that debate over here is super toxic, because what defines a living wage? A living wage is, okay, don't put your pitchforks, torches away, people, if you're listening to this. A living wage should be you can work a 40-hour-a-week job, provide rent or mortgage, food, insurance, healthcare, transportation. Those 6 things. That's what should cover a living wage. That, a living wage should not include your Hulu, your Netflix, your Disney Plus. It should not include your fucking iPhone X. It should not include your vices. None of that. Okay? Yeah. Those are called luxuries for a reason. Now, the other caveat I would put in there in a living wage, internet should be a utility. It should not be treated as a consumer good anymore. Because in the world we live in now, you have to have access to the internet. I don't care where you are. Reliable, high-speed internet should be judged as a utility and regulated as such so that there's fair competition and advancements constantly made. So, living wage should cover your necessities, not your luxuries. But the debate comes in, well, oh, I can't afford my iPhone and my Disney Plus, and I can't afford my Gucci or my $189 Nikes. Work a better paying job.
Yeah.
A living wage job should provide you the necessities: food, housing, stability, medical care. You know, the necessities. That's a living wage.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above a necessity, you either need to find A, better job, or B, find a way to supplement your income. In my opinion. I could be wrong. Don't at me. If you want to, we'll fight about it. Let's go. I'm down. But you know what I mean.
Oh, no, definitely. Like, it's like here there is a big argument that the cost of living has went up and the minimum wage hasn't. Like, that's the
Same
argument
here.
that's going on here. So, but you can see it in things like, see if, like, when I worked with Iceland, which is a frozen food store here,
okay.
I would get paid, your base rate was £7.42 an hour. Because I was a delivery driver, we got what was known as danger pay.
Right.
Which is because we were out in the public and out doing things. We got an extra £1 an hour put on our wage. So I would make $8.42. If I'd done the exact same job in London, their pay for their drivers was £10.25 an hour, because the cost of living in London is so much higher than the rest of the UK.
Yeah,
yes, there's areas in Glasgow, there's areas in London, Edinburgh, there's Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, so on, so on, that you have different standards of living and stuff like that. But as a base rate, the cost of living, like, we had the conversation about how I can go and get a 3-bedroom house, front and back garden, driveway, up and down stairs, semi-detached house that pays £600 a month to own it, to get it. Yet that same house in London, you're talking £2,500 a month minimum.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
So, but like, that's where it's in me. So it's like, it's just such a, like, it's a weird thing to me, because like for us here, it's been such a normal thing. Or you get a minimum wage,
right?
But when you read about the things in America or any other country that have the problem, and you're like, but this would all be solved if like, it's not even a government thing. This would all be solved if the companies just paid their staff for the hours that they done. Like if you as a company cannot afford to give your staff a living wage, you should not own a business, because you're putting other people's lives in your hands just so you can have a business. It's no up to people. Like, it shouldn't be a case of you need to work to live. It should be a case of you live to work. In that sense, like, you shouldn't have to go out and work 50 hours a week just in order to scrape by. It should be one of those ones that you should be able to work extra hours if you want to.
Yeah.
Because your boss gives you such a wage that, like, I'm not saying that your boss should give you fucking $400 an hour and you only have to work 2 days or 2 hours a week.
Unless you're worth
kind of
it.
thing. I mean, unless you're worth it. But it's that kind of way, like, you should be able to be in a situation where you're paid enough, and a normal, like, I think the normal hour is between 35 and 45. Anywhere in that scale is a decent week's work. So you should be able to work any of that and be able to afford your typical kind of, like, I mean, again, here, our healthcare and that is put through our tax, so we don't actually have to pay that, which again kind of stems a wee bit more worse on the fact that not only are we technically receiving a higher minimum wage, but the minimum wage that we are getting, we also don't have to pay for these things that you have to pay for.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting less but have to pay more.
Yep.
Whereas we're getting more and technically don't have to pay as much.
You pay for it on the back end in your taxes, though.
Yeah, but even at that, the taxes are like 18%.
Yeah.
It depends on how much you make.
Right.
There's different bands and all that kind of stuff. But it's like I brought in, like, for me doing this job, see, as a self-employment, you get £12,500 a year on tax. That means that I need to make £12,500 a year before I can be taxed by the government.
I think ours is 6.
Yeah, that's a thing. But it's like, I still have to pay my national insurance because that's separate from income tax. So, but it's like, I would bring in, like, saying a typical week, I'd be bringing in like £600 a week. My national insurance would maybe come out at £24.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
That means that I've still got 550 quid. That's mine because I've not reached that tax point yet.
Right.
It would be like 6 months would have to pass before I would then have to start paying tax. And even at that, if that's £600, I'd be paying round about £100 in tax. So you're still walking away with 500.
Yeah.
So
no,
it's just such a weird concept.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, it's really ass backwards, because you. How can I put this where I don't come off as just an insensitive prick? Profit is good. Greed is bad. And if you chase greed, you're an asshole. If you make healthy profit, I got no beef with you. So, like, in America, CEOs make 3,000% more than guys like me. What the fuck do you need 3,000% more than me for? You sit in a fancy office brokering deals. I'm in negative 25 fucking degree weather making sure your people get to you. How do you deserve 3,000% more than I do? Because you started the company? Because your daddy gave you the money? Because you actually know how to invest money where I don't? Like, it makes no sense. And the fact that to tie it back to the one where to say please when you get a meal is just, it's a courtesy. My kids do it all the time. I do it all the time. I tip 25%. I think the lowest I ever tip is 15% on a bill. If I can tip 25% and they've earned it, I do. But my minimum tip is like 15. That's if they're a shit waitress, I'm still giving them, or server, I'm still giving them 15% on the bill because I know they're making $2.50, even though my service is garbage. I don't want them to starve.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those things that smarter people than I need to figure their shit out so that it can get fixed.
Yeah, well, I think that seems like a decent amount of proper culture shock.
It does.
With Imade. So, what do you think?
I
Let's
think
start getting into the happy endings and
oh yeah,
a little bit more positivity.
I mean, we've been generally positive. I think the debate behind things is intriguing because they're often things that people don't talk about. And like we said when we do this podcast, one of the reasons we like doing this podcast is we have similar but divergent opinions and different perspectives. So I agree.
Yeah.
Happy ending. You want to go first? You haven't done one in a while.
Yeah. Well, it was 10 minutes before we started recording this where I went, I've not got a happy ending. I better go and find one. And then I found a very nice massage parlor. The woman was really, really nice and helpful. And I managed to find one that was actually I actually did, with my line of work, this is the one that kind of it touched me. It's from Wales. And basically, the story was how being a delivery man helps my autistic son. And
Nice.
it's an interesting kind of thing. But basically what had happened is there's a chap from Vale of Glamorgan village in St Athan called Cal Carr, and he has autism. It doesn't go into state just how far on the spectrum he is, but his mother said that he'd had a lot of meltdowns which had worsened in the lockdown and stuff like that, and she'd kind of called for our neighbours to see if they could help out in any way and just get some support and stuff like that. So basically what happened is one of their neighbours had overheard Cal talking about how he's always wanted to have a uniform like his siblings, but with his level of autism, no one really, like, the world we live in, if you've got a disability, a lot of companies don't want to dime me, which is it's heartbreaking because I know a lot of people with disabilities, not necessarily autism, but just disabilities across the board, that have so much more work ethic than some of the people that I've worked alongside. And I would have them work alongside me any day of the week.
Right.
But basically, the neighbour had a hoodie printed with Cal's delivery service. And what they would do is basically, he would deliver groceries and shopping that the neighbours had bought for, like, his neighbour would buy in like different groceries and stuff like that to be sent to different houses for like the elderly and that couldn't get out who were shielding and stuff. Mm-hmm. And basically he was his delivery service that would go door to door delivering the messages, that. And it was just a way getting him out the house. As I said, he got his uniform. He was just made to feel part of the community.
Yeah.
And just like listening or reading some of the kind of like how his mum had said that life at home had become difficult. He wasn't coping with lockdown. He'd got very depressed, didn't want to do anything. And then that's when they'd kind of came up with the Cal's collection delivery and all that stuff just to get him out. Let him see a difference from the four walls that he was seeing. And it's another story of a community coming together where there's someone in need there's not necessarily just one person, but the family, because I've got friends that have children with autism right across the spectrum, and I know how difficult it can be trying to not necessarily just understand, but trying to kind of live as much of a normal life as possible, trying to give their children as much of a normal life as possible, when these outbursts that really isn't anything on the child, because like it's how they're programmed in that,
Right.
it's how their brain functions. So it's like it's such a nice moment to see other people coming together, because you often hear about like I said, so that people with disabilities are often like shunned to the side, like creatures of the night. Why would anybody want to find me? And I'm seeing a lot of more stories like this, where it's communities kind of coming together and going, no, let's take a stand, let's involve them in society, let's give them something to kind of help them. And like they said that, yeah, his mum's said over and over again, like, thank you for supporting. She like, thank you for supporting us through isolation. You've been invaluable. You're doing a fantastic job. This is through his Facebook page, where his customers have been posting up reviews and stuff like that. And you're like, that. It's just such a heartwarming story, that the power of like
Community.
this topic's been community and kindness can change such a minute portion of someone's life for such a good way. And it's like, you're gaining nothing from this, but he's gaining a complete new world, a new life, that he probably never would have got any other way.
Yeah, I read the article, and it hits for me on a couple levels. It hits for me because my middle son is autistic, and some of the kids in the house have other spectrum stuff, but he's like the most classically autistic. Like, he's high functioning, but he has like social cue issues and inappropriate vocalizations and stuff. And when I read it, and I talked about how he was having outbursts and the people didn't know what to do about it, and he was struggling with lockdown. A lot of that comes down to, one, the way his brain works is completely different than our brain. Like, a person with autism runs basically on a different operating system. Like, you and I run on Windows, they run on, Safari. Yeah. So what we understand and process is processed and understood differently. So a lot of times with autism specifically, something normal or something innocuous to you and me triggers their oversensitivities and causes them to have a freak out. Yeah. It's nothing they can stop. It's nothing they can do. They can learn to cope with it and deal with it better. It's like an anxiety attack. But to have people shun them or say, oh, they're a bad kid because of that, that's not the case. And when she was saying that, oh, he just wanted to be like his siblings, that's the thing that hits the most, is people with disabilities want to be normal. Yeah. They want to be viewed and treated normally. They don't want to have, most of them, some of them are shady fucks that want to take advantage of it, but we won't get into that. Most people with any type of disability just want to be treated the same as you or I. They want to be given the same chances. They want to be roasted the same way by their friends. They want to have the same opportunity to act and accord themselves in public the same as you and I. The problem with that is they have outbursts, or they have a physical deformity like I do. So they're viewed as the other. And what that means is, well, that's not me. I don't do that. So it's easier for people to look at that and go, We don't want that. That we don't want that other type here. And so for Cal, I believe the name is Cal. The kid's name is Cal. When he was given a shirt that matched the color of his siblings' uniforms and had his name on it, it gave him a sense of agency, a sense of power, a sense of normalcy, so that he was included. He was treated normally. He was given a purpose. Because a lot of times people with disabilities aren't given, they're not allowed to have a purpose. It's, you're disabled, go chill. Just go. You're disabled, don't worry about it, go. It's not what they want. And with people with autism, a lot of times, depending on if it's severe, they can't function like Cal can or my middle son can. If it's high functioning, where they can function like Cal can and my middle son can, they're still lumped in with autistic people being like, oh, he's autistic, he can't do anything. So for the community to come to an understanding of what Cal needed to be able to cope and feel accepted and be given a purpose is an amazing thing, because it harkens back to what we talked about. It's that courtesy, it's that kindness, because all too often it is go, 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 me, dog eat dog.
Yeah.
And people who are less fortunate or less able or have a different set of circumstances aren't given the tools to adapt to the go, 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 dog eat dog.
Yeah.
And we also don't slow down enough on our end to understand that, yes, they are intelligent, yes, they are capable, but they're intelligent and capable in a different way. And so for the community to recognize that and do something like that, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. I would love for my middle son, who's hyper intelligent, he can build anything. He like builds stuff, like you get him Legos and it's like done. You get him like a robot. He's like, I already programmed it. It's like, you got it an hour ago. He's like, yeah, I'm done. I can't build a fucking robot, and I can't even build like a stick figure with Legos. And he's like, I built the Great Wall of China, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna. So yeah, seeing that, and having a community understand, I think is the major point of that one.
Yeah,
because they understood what he needed, and they accepted that he was quote unquote different. And they were able to work with it and provide for him so that he felt, included, I guess, for lack of a better term.
And I think that's and that's the point you kind of touched on is, it's the inclusion is the main kind of outcome that they want, is just include them. Like, you will never understand just how much that simple task will help someone and lift someone.
Yeah.
Not just someone with a disability, but it was just I really enjoyed that story, and just like, even though it was 10 minutes before we started recording that I came across it, it was still just like, you seen it yourself. As soon as I read it, I was like, this is the one.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to find a story like that, because often those things happen and they're not seen. Like, growing up as a kid, I helped start the handicap little league here in my city. I was part of the inaugural season. I brought kids to my mom heard about it from a library program, and she's like, my son's not technically handicapped, but he's got deformities and stuff, and they won't let him on the team, but he knows how to deal with people with disabilities, and he knows how to include them. So having somebody like my son would be helpful. And sure enough, man, we had the first meetings, and kids were showing up in crutches and wheelchairs, and they asked me to say something because a lot of the kids were looking at me like, what are you doing here? You can walk. You don't look disabled. And when I got up and said something, I said, hey, I got a heart condition and my feet are deformed and whatnot, but that's not going to stop me from playing baseball. And anybody that I play against better be able to bring it, because you're not your wheelchair and you're not a set of crutches. We're teammates or we're opponents, and I'm going to go 110% no matter what. Turns out later they were like, don't go 110% sometimes. You're going too hard. Because I'm hyper competitive. Like, I want to win. Well, the Little League was like, we don't keep score. You know, it's just for fun. And in my head was like, oh, we winning this. So,
I can't stand that. This whole, it's the thing. No, like, you're there to win. If you're not there to win, what is the point? What are you teaching anybody?
Well,
everybody will just hand you shit.
Well, the goal of the Handicap Little League was to bring sport to kids who didn't have sport.
Oh yeah, I can understand
right.
that.
I know where you're going, but I wanted to clarify for listeners who couldn't see your reaction as you were working through it. But a lot of times, small stories like the Cal's delivery service, they don't get out because it's not worth the news organizations to go, oh, some autistic kid delivers groceries. You know. So yeah, I love it.
That also kind of thing is that your happy ending, and that I had zero idea that this even was like when it says like after 10 years of fighting for the case. I was like, I've never even heard the original.
Okay, so what Chris is talking about is recently a federal judge ordered penalties against ExxonMobil for thousands of clean air violations. Now, over here in America, we have the Clean Air Act, which dictates you can't disperse or have certain levels of particulate matter or certain levels of waste or things like that violating the clean air, so that everybody's entitled to have clean air. Well, Exxon has been fighting this case for like 10 years to say, well, we didn't really make those clean air violations like you say we did. They're just exaggerating, blah, blah, blah. Well, finally, a federal judge went, I don't know. You literally made a violation every day for 8 years. Like, what? How can you in good conscience argue this? And Exxon was like, well, you see what had happened was they had a town there, and the judge went, yeah, the town was there first. You have a responsibility to not dump your shit in their backyard. And what makes this a great story is he didn't sit there and say, oh, you're bad. He said, no, dog. 14 million. Drop it.
Yeah.
Pay it up. Pay your violations. Clean your shit up, or I'm going to keep fining your ass until you do. Now, normally, a corporation is going to be like, well, Judge, can we make something out? And Judge was like, no, 14 mil. 14 mil. Don't talk to me. And then the bean counters went, shit, that actually hurt.
Yeah.
And this is not only great because it's one of the mounting decisions where federal judges have said, no, you guys need to clean your shit up. This is now starting to set precedent that corporations can no longer just willy-nilly dump their shit in everybody's backyard or spew their goddamn shit in the air and not have consequence, because this is about consequence now. You violate these laws, we're not going to go, oh, Exxon, you did naughty. Your stock prices aren't going to be affected. Now, your stock price is not going to be affected because you fucked up. And the lawyer...
That was the little bit that I'd seen there. It's like this case follows successful cases.
Yep.
The same group's brought against Shell Oil Company for violations of its Deer Park refinery, Chevron Phillips for violations at its Cedar Bayou plant, and Pasadena Refining Systems Incorporated for violations at the Pasadena refinery. So you can see that it was a kind of a building up. That these previous companies were obviously had a little bit more leniency on, and then they've kind of went, do you know what? No, this is the fourth fucking one. No, Phil, there you go. The biggest fine that we can give you is what you're getting. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, because I think in a way it sets precedence to corporations that go, you can't shit on the little guy anymore.
Yeah.
Because all too often, like we said for years, like you're not going to get paid a living wage, and we're going to do whatever the fuck we want because we can. And this judge finally went, hang on, let me make sure the robe's right. All right, what was your argument? Oh, yeah, okay, you're a corporation. You make $8 billion a year. Okay, Federal violations, dope. Okay, 14 mil. Pay the fine. Move the fuck on. Clean your shit up or we're going to do it again. Like, a federal judge finally had the fucking cojones to look at these big businesses and say, no, dog, you can't shit on the little guy. Pay your fines, clean your shit up, or we're going to fine you some more. Yeah. And we all know who really runs the corporations in this world. It ain't the CEOs. It ain't the workers. It's the fucking bean counters and the shareholders. And when they get handed a bill for $14.8 million in damages, somebody with glasses on their nose is going to go, well, you know, sir, that's going to affect our quarterly earnings rate by 8.5%. And that's going to cause our stock to dip by 15%, which is going to cause our further financial losses. So we can't afford another fine like this. So let's do something about it. Now, my hope is they do something about it in the right way.
Yeah.
And clean up their stuff and find clean air technologies. Instead of going, well, let's just go move our factory to somewhere in the middle of bumfuck China and pollute all we can.
Yeah. That's the worry.
But the fact that a federal judge and several other federal judges are actually doing their job and standing up to enforce the law to several big money corporations really makes me applaud and hope that this becomes the trend and not the outlier.
Definitely. Like, I definitely hope this is the kind of turning point for these basic lawbreakers that have been getting away with it for so long. Like
criminal bitches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it is a turning point, and I think more judges need to stand up and enforce the law. That's their job. You're the judge. You adjudicate. If the law's been broken, your job is to fine a motherfucker and send somebody to collect it. Like 14.8 mil, go get it. Send a bunch of dudes. Send a bunch of burly looking dudes in a bean counter who's got a calculator and a set of glasses and goes, I'm going to count all $14.8 million, and I'm going to count it again, and then I'm going to leave a note that says, I took $14.8 million, don't fuck up again.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know, man. But
definitely.
On that note, I think we'll bring it to a close. Hey, Chris, man, it's good to have you back in the seat. I missed you. I missed last week. I hope you're doing well. Great conversation as always. You made great points as always. So we'll do this again. We'll run it back next week.
Definitely, I'll be here, ready and waiting. A little bit more preparation than this week, but I'll be here.
Hey, we didn't even know if this thing was gonna fly, so I think we did all right.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the fact that your computer hasn't decided that today was the day that it was gonna. Whoop! We've got to the end. Success.
Keep your nuts crossed. We don't know. We ain't over yet. I still gotta strip the audio out and see how it goes. But thoughts and prayers. T's and P's, bro. T's and P's.
Yeah.
But man, you as always, you brought up great points. You made me think. I appreciate it, man. So I know you're tired. You've been up all night. Why don't you hit the rack? But before you do, tell them where people can find you, get at you for questions, feedback, whatever.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ChrisC90. That's a capital C, small H, RICY, capital CEE90. Twitter's the best place to get me, or on Discord and Dox's community server. Everything will be linked in descriptions.
Yeah, and if we can get if the video episode translated really well, you can also leave comments on your Facebook or your YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah, on my YouTube, which is the same name on that as well.
Cool, man. Cool. And you guys, at this point, you guys know me. I'm Dox Ryan. You can find me hopefully in the next couple weeks back on Twitch. But you can find me at YouTube. I don't have a custom YouTube URL. I'm not that popular yet. Just look up Dox Ryan YouTube. You'll get my vlogs and my rants and shit, which I can record video. So I'm probably going to do more YouTube shit in the next couple weeks. And you can also get at me on Twitter at Dox Ryan or at Instagram. I mean, I always want to hear what you guys think. I always want to hear what your thoughts are. Do us a favor. If you are listening to this on the audio version, please rate and favorite it. Write a review if you can. If you hit us up on our YouTubes because you watched the video version, leave a comment, like, share, all that shit. We appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Chris, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And